He was doing the airport for
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Village Board for November 6th. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk Simpson, roll call, please.
Trustee Lang?
Here.
Trustee Brady?
Here.
Trustee Kruger?
Present.
Trustee Papantos?
Present.
Trustee Vito?
Here.
Trustee Vogel?
Here.
President Horker?
Here. I would be looking for a motion to approve the minutes of October 2nd as presented.
So moved.
Motion, Trustee Lang, second.
Second.
Trustee Papantos, roll call, please.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. I would now be looking for a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of October 16th.
So moved. Second.
Motion, Papantos, second, Trustee Kruger. Roll call, please.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. Are there any changes to the agenda, Mr. Spondelis?
There are no changes this evening.
Thank you, sir. Clerk Simpson, proclamations and congratulatory resolutions.
Elaine Nekritz, State Representative, 57th District. In 2003, Elaine Nekritz began her service to the residents of the 57th House District of the Illinois General Assembly, which includes portions of Buffalo Grove, Arlington Heights, Northbrook, Palatine, Mount Prospect, and Prospect Heights, as well as South and West Wheeling. Whereas during her distinguished tenure in the Illinois House, Representative Nekritz has consistently demonstrated sincere devotion to the interests of the residents of her district and of Illinois as a whole, as well as an admirable capacity to work across political divisions on important issues of common concern. Representative Nekritz has exercised her expertise and good judgment in a number of areas, recently chairing the House Judiciary Civil Committee and serving on the Appropriations, Public Safety, Public Utilities, and Special Needs Service Committees. Elaine Nekritz's legacy in the General Assembly includes legislation in support of a fair and effective criminal justice system and substantive efforts to find solutions to Illinois' pressing financial challenges. On June 16, 2017, Elaine Nekritz announced her plans to step down as 57th District Representative upon appointment of her successor. Patrick Horker, President of the Village of Wheeling, does hereby call upon the citizens of Wheeling to join him in thanking Elaine Nekritz for her distinguished service to Wheeling and the residents of the 57th House District, and in wishing her and her family the best of luck in the future.
Ms. Nekritz, we're honored to have Ms. Nekritz here with us this evening, thanking you for your services to the district. I have a list of everything you've done here. It's long. You come to the village for our lighting ceremony. You come to the village during your busy season for the running of the runways, and you've run it a couple of times, right? Yes. Just once? Somebody told me twice. You're unusual in among the legislators that I've met in that you always took time to meet with just the regular people, and it's always been wonderful to exercise that right to speak with you, because even if I didn't agree with you on positions, you always had a reason. You didn't simply, toe the party line, and you are going to be missed. You really will, for everything that you did. We have a little plaque here, and I would really like to thank you for everything that you've done for your district, for us. So thank you. Thank you. Ms. Simpson.
Timothe Durkin Day, November 7th, 2017. Timothe Durkin joined the Wheeling Fire Department on April 16th, 1984 as a firefighter paramedic. He completed the necessary training to become certified as a paramedic preceptor, CPR instructor, airport firefighter, roadway extrication specialist, advanced technician firefighter, fire officer 1 and 2, fire department safety officer, and as a fire and arson investigator. As a result of his professional skills and abilities, he was promoted to the rank of lieutenant paramedic in 2009. Throughout his entire career, Lieutenant Paramedic Timothe Durkin took a very active role in mentoring, nurturing, and fostering the professional development of many new and or less experienced department personnel. He played a critical role in establishing the fire department's fire investigation team and later expanded that program into a joint fire investigatory process involving the Wheeling Police Department. His role in establishing the Northwest Municipal Conference Joint Fire Purchasing Committee has saved member communities over $10 million since its inception. After completing more than 33 years with the Wheeling Fire Department, Lieutenant Paramedic Timothe Durkin is now retiring. Patrick Horker, Village President of the Village of Wheeling, do hereby proclaim November 7th, 2017, Timothe Durkin Day in the Village of Wheeling in recognition and appreciation of his many years of dedicated emergency service and professional commitment to our community.
Probably stand in front.
We'll stand.
We'll stand.
Picture moment.
33 years.
Yeah.
I was like born when you got, no.
I knew your mom and dad.
Yes, you've been to our place several times. Yeah, 33 years is a long time. I mean, thank you for 24 hours a day, and thank your family for sharing you with us. What are you going to do now? Nothing? Take a little time off? Good for you. You definitely earned it. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And a gift? A parting thing?
Wrapped it? Had somebody else wrap it.
This is beautiful. You're good.
I want to say, oh, right, wait. Oh, wait, there's more. If we act now.
Oh. My goodness.
We're going to give you...
Nice.
What street does this go?
Right up front, right?
Do we have to pass a motion? This is beautiful. Thank you very much. This means a lot.
You
Means a lot.
committee dedicated a lot of time to us.
Nah, you guys are cool. Trust me.
Thank you. Want to say a few words? Want to
Oh,
introduce some of your
thank
friends?
you.
You've got guests here.
You know, I'm a person of few words.
Well,
I don't want to take too much time, but...
it's a short meeting. Go ahead.
Oh, excellent. That might fine. So, working in this community, I got to just say, in its simplicity, was a great experience. I see some, look at this, some retired folks that taught me how to be a firefighter. You hear the voice? It's kind of weird. I'm not used to this. I see the guys who taught me to be a firefighter sitting here today.
It means a lot.
Oh, my God. I had to pay them. But in its simplicity, I got my brother Douglas sitting over here. My wife, you're going to love this, Battalion Chief Wendy Durkin, Buffalo Grove Fire Department. She was cool with me all these years. But one thing I will tell you folks as residents of this community, be assured, your police, your fire, your public works, your board, they're phenomenal people to work with. Village manager, I remember John going through college, starting out in public works, working his way up to the current position that he's in, having a cigarette with him once in a while in the back of the station, talking. This is cool stuff, and that's what the Village of Wheeling's about. We have a great community, public service people, board members that really put a big effort in this community, and they put up with me for 33 and a half years. So, with that being said, Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. You are crazy. I know, we're Irish.
Where my glasses go? Appointments and confirmations. Clerk Simpson.
Mary Ann Marabella to the Senior Commission. We need to take a vote on that.
I would like a motion to appoint Mary Ann Marabella to the Senior Commission.
So moved.
Second.
Motion trustee Papantos, second trustee Vogel. Roll call, please.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Votto?
Yes.
Vogel?
Yes.
President Harker?
Yes. I would now like a motion to appoint Susan Pritzker to the Board of Health.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion.
Motion trustee Papantos, second trustee Lang. Roll call, please.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
President Harker?
Yes. Clerk Simpson, you will administer the
I
oaths of
will do the
office?
oaths, yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mary Ann? Mary Ann first. Oh, that's okay. Come on, Vic, come on. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Mary Ann Marabella,
I, Mary Ann Marabella,
having been appointed to the Senior Commission
having been appointed to the Senior Commission
in the Village of Wheeling,
in the Village of Wheeling,
in the County of Cook and Lake,
in the County of Cook and Lake,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
support the Constitution of the United States
support the Constitution of the State of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of Senior Commissioner
of the office of Senior Commissioner
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability. Here, I need you to say your name.
Okay.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Susan Pritzker,
I, Susan Pritzker,
having been appointed to the Board of Health
having been appointed to the Board of Health
in the Village of Wheeling,
in the Village of Wheeling,
in the counties of Cook and Lake,
in the counties of Cook and Lake,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of Board of Health Commissioner
of the office of Board of Health Commissioner
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability. I, Eric Sterbenz,
I, Eric Sterbenz,
having been appointed to the position of Lieutenant Paramedic
having been appointed to the position of Lieutenant Paramedic
in the Fire Department of the Village of Wheeling,
in the Fire Department of the Village of Wheeling,
in the counties of Cook and Lake,
in the counties of Cook and Lake,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of Lieutenant Paramedic
of the office of Lieutenant Paramedic
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Well, I get to say a few kind words. Since Eric came on the department,
He's been a grade A person. He has worked very hard. He has participated in special teams, and he has focused a lot on improving the safety of our department and has taken a true interest in making sure that all the protective equipment and gear that the firemen wear is state-of-the-art and has kept them safe through all these years. And he just hasn't settled to be just a firefighter paramedic. He's done a lot of other miscellaneous things around the department, and obviously it doesn't come as a big surprise that you're standing here tonight getting promoted because you've shown yourself to be a leader. I would also be a little remiss with Tim Durkin here. I have to tell a little story and it'll lead into a point here. I first met Tim probably about 32 years ago through his lovely wife, Wendy, back here. Wendy was on the Long Grove Fire Protection District as a volunteer, and that's when I eventually met Tim, and the rest is history coming here. I think a lot of people don't realize, but between Wendy and Tim, you're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of about 64 years, 65 years of full-time service and indirectly to the community, because Wendy's right next door in Buffalo Grove, and we have a very close working relationship with Buffalo Grove. So she's kind of like been one of ours as well. So thank you, Wendy, for everything and for sharing Tim with us as well. What I'd like to do tonight is a little bit something different. The more I thought about this tonight, I realized that historically I pinned the badge on the new officer in the department. And when I started looking at some of the records, I started to realize that Tim Durkin was actually the third longest full-time employee in the history of the Wheeling Fire Department, exceeded only by Darla and Ralph Perricone, who some of you may know. So with Tim's 33.5 years, that puts him in a very unique position with the department. And with that, I'd like to ask Tim to come on up and pin Eric for tonight. Also being appropriate, since Eric is replacing him on shift and taking over his reins on his shift. So Tim, if you would be so kind to come on up and award Eric his badge.
I can't think of a better guy, just so you know. Right on. Yeah, I'm having trouble with this. Is there a missus in the house? I'm really, ma'am, can you help me, please? Can you come over? I'm having trouble with this. Can you please? I'm really having trouble. It's hard with this. I can stick it, but I don't think we have to. There you go.
Before I turn this over to Deputy Chief McGreal, I want to point out, for those of you who are not familiar with the fire service, everything we do in the fire service has a lot of symbolism that goes with it. And you'll notice that the badge that now Lieutenant Paramedic Eric Sterbenz is wearing has a bugle in the middle. When you go back about 150, 200 years ago, we didn't have things like portable radios out there, and you had to communicate over the noise of the fire. And as a result, officers had to use what were called speaking trumpets. And it's a very long-term tradition in the American Fire Service that symbolizes an officer. And being a single bugle shows that he's responsible for a crew or a group of single individuals in the department. So again, the badge you wear, I hope you will take with great honor. The red in it also stands for courage. Hopefully you will continue to have the courage to lead, manage, and continue your upward advancement in the department. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to the Deputy Chief for his presentation and a few kind words.
Thanks, Chief. Eric's got some big shoes to fill to follow in after Dirk. You up for it? Absolutely. He's up for it. When Tim first came in to talk to the chief and I tell him he's retiring, he said that it was an easy decision because he knew Eric Sterbenz was next on the list and he was going to be getting promoted because Tim was going to leave in October. Eric is a class act. He's a natural leader. Everything he does, he puts his heart and soul into it. And we look forward to watching him to continue to do great things and to continue to move up in the organization. And not only does he get a shiny new badge, he gets a shiny new helmet. So this will be his lieutenant's helmet, and he'd like to introduce his wife and 2 daughters.
Thanks, Chief. Appreciate it. All right, I'll make this quick because they saw the cake, so it's tough keeping them seated. I'd like to thank and introduce my family, my wife Alexis, my 2 daughters Adeline and Blakely, for all their love and support. I'd like to thank the board, the commission, and the command staff for giving me the opportunity 14 years ago to come to work here. Best job in the world, and love every minute of it. Also, all the police and fire that are here, as well as other public works, other village departments. Appreciate you guys being here for Tim and I. It means a lot. And lastly, it's always been a privilege serving the residents of the community, and look forward to the new opportunity. Thank you.
I'd like to welcome the commissioners. I'd like to welcome our new lieutenant. And as a little sign of ceremony, we have cake and refreshments in the lobby. I'd be looking for a motion to recess for refreshments for 15 minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, Trustee Lang, second Trustee Kruger. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Recess. Have some cake and whatever. Thank you all. Good evening, everybody. I would like a motion to reconvene into regular session.
So moved.
I will say that was a motion by Trustee Kruger and a second by Trustee Vogel. Roll call.
Roll call. Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. Leave the door. Citizens' concerns and comments. Clerk Simpson?
Members of the public may address the board with comments regarding only those items that are relevant to village business. No citizen shall speak for more than 5 minutes without consent of the board. Members of the general public who wish to address the board must sign the request to speak form prior to the commencement of the public meeting. Ms. Dorbam?
Hi. That was a tough act to follow, but I'm going to anyway. Pam Dorband, 705 Brookvale Drive. I'm here tonight mainly to represent the Wheeling Prospect Heights Chamber of Commerce and Industry. On behalf of Nina, our executive director, who is strep throat tonight, otherwise she would be here, and myself, I would like to publicly thank Sergeants Hyam and Elwert for the active shooter training on October 25th. Based on the recent shooting events, the information was not only timely, but very helpful. I want to also thank Chief Dunn and the entire police department for continuing to ensure the safety of everyone who enters all of our buildings and facilities. Nina and I attended a 3-day Chamber of Commerce conference, and I'm pleased to let you know we received many wonderful comments about the village, which included our Wheeling Town Center, the many new commercial and residential buildings, our park district, and our newly renovated library. Stepping back in time a bit, I served on the Wheeling 2000 and beyond, and where we focused on making Wheeling a better and best place to live. To now hear the many wonderful comments at the conference and out in the public, it makes me even more proud of the village in which I live, work, shop, and volunteer. In addition to the positive feedback, I want to personally thank the village trustees and all the staff who have continued with our win-win relationship between the village and the Chamber of Commerce to help support our local businesses, be they retail, commercial, and industrial. As a resident and a plan commissioner, I'm excited about the successful projects, past, current, and future. And I'd be remiss in not mentioning the Uptown 500 project, which will be another fabulous addition to our village. And I thank all of you for your support.
Thank you.
Ms. Morgan? No.
Ms. Morgan.
Hi, everybody. I'm here, it's really kind of a personal thing, but I am curious. With all these tickets for code violations going out in the village, would it have been possible to send out a warning to people that some of these codes and things have been amended over time? And if possible, to not get a ticket every other day. You can't take care of something in 24 or 48 hours. I don't expect the village to. I would hope that they wouldn't expect me to be able to do something like that. This is based on just my own personal thing. I'm totally honest with you. I have an RV. It's been in that side yard on a solid base for 13 years. The fence was installed with 16-foot gate openings in order to pull the RV into the back and close it behind the 6-foot fence. I thought I was doing everything I was supposed to, but was never informed I hadn't until I received tickets. I wish someone could tell me when all these amendments came to this particular code, because it would help me solve this problem. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Neff?
Good evening, everybody. Steve Neff, Wheeling resident, 193 South Wolf, next to Holmes Middle School. 2 years ago, we formed a noise committee at Chicago Executive Airport, and we meet quarterly. And right out of the gate, we are handed the FAA FAR Part 150 noise compatibility studies. And in the study has several recommendations that the airport has bought and paid for twice for noise abatement. So parsing through the study, I mean, we kind of started to go through everything and see what we could do and what we couldn't do. One of the first things that we talked about that was recommended by the airport was installing noise monitors. Well, that was discussed, and the board thought it was not a good idea, and they didn't want to fund that. Even though that there's noise monitors in all the suburbs around O'Hare Airport. The next item that we presented and discussed was a 310 departure. A 310 departure would take an aircraft taking off to the north and veer it northwest, so it goes out over the least populated area over Industrial Park, follows the railroad tracks, and then it goes in the direction that it wants to go. This was approved by and recommended by the FAA to lessen the noise impact on those living in the contour below it. So recently, after 2 years of planning, at the last Chicago Executive Airport regular meeting, there was significant pushback. Even though there's a sunk cost in the study, they don't want to continue to fund it. It's not officially dead yet because they want to wait for Director Kearns and Director Kolsak to get there. So I don't know. Hopefully it'll have a change of heart because I think it has significant merit. Another item that came out was utilizing an alternative runway, which is currently only utilizing 14% of the departures, and that's runway 1230. Some of the users of the airport, the FBOs, CMT, it's part of the new master plan study, would be widening this runway to allow for B-2 large jets, which are going to be your Citations, Hawkers, Dassault Falcons. Guido, the pilot from Allstate, was pushing for it. And once again, you're taking noise out towards the tracks before, it's 1.5 miles before you get to any residences, and that was getting pushed back too. And even Neil Katz raised his hand and says, I don't want them flying over my house. So we're kind of running out of ideas, and I'm just a little frustrated, and part of it has to do with there's just not any funds available. I just wanted to mention that O'Hare and the suburbs around it have already gotten all of their sound attenuation or darn close to getting it, and they have all their sound monitors. You know, way back when the FAA offered grants to Chicago Executive Airport and we didn't have any matching funds, there was no funds available. So it kind of raises questions, well, how come there's no funds? And I want to reference an article that was dated in the Chicago Tribune, December 17, 2007, raised questions over Chicago Executive Airport overpaying Prospect Heights for a safety zone. This was the same area that they were going to develop a sports arena. It just didn't pan out for them. The airport bought the land for $4 million over the appraised value. It's significant because the debt service on this is $250,000 a year to the airport, with a balloon payment in 2020 of $660,000. Had this money been appropriated for noise abatement, all the homes and schools would have been soundproofed, improving health and property values, instead of, I have to say, unjustly enriching Prospect Heights. I want to say that this board, I mean, you hold the purse strings for this airport. Prospect Heights is not home rule. You guys are. So you have a little bit of leverage when the airport needs money. They need to build a new customs building. They want a new admin building. They want a new snow shed for their snow equipment. How can you leverage some money for noise abatement? I think it's time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Wilson?
Good evening. I found something Ms. Malusi gave me. I'm usually, as you know, right on top of answers to FOIA requests, but I somehow, it was given to me on a very small flash drive, and I just opened it for the first time today. And I would like to give a proper recognition for Trustee Mary Kruger for forwarding my emails about the crime that happened to me in my home. I did not become aware of that till today, and she did some follow-up. Trustee Lang also forwarded my emails, and that's very much appreciated. And Trustee Jovito, we had an unfortunate time at the last meeting. my eyes were not on him. He appeared distracted, and I inappropriately perceived that he was mocking me, and I wanted to correct the record publicly because he was not my cameraman. When I talk, I look this way and that, and I just happen to be looking the other direction. At the time, he must have had some pop-up on his iPad or something. I don't know. But as you know, my investigation into Wheeling started because I was unhappy about the way that police matter was handled. On March 8th, I was a victim of a crime in my home. That was 24/7. It goes on. It's really bad. That was actually a dash cam that was charging in my living room. That was going 24/7 because I had had so many problems with a stalker that it's a report falsely says that they lived upstairs. They owned the property upstairs. They had actually purchased a house half a year earlier. They were just staging it and coming back now and again. So that happened on March 8th, and it was pretty traumatic, to say the least. I went every day to the police department, wanted to find out when she was going to be arrested. As I told you before, Jenke was telling the Sarge Conway, but Sarge, the husband admitted to me that the wife went into the house, and Conway looked at his watch and said, you can go to lunch now.
Is this charge of, what they call misdemeanor 1, 2, 3, or like a felony or what? Yeah, misdemeanor charge, correct. Battery is a misdemeanor. Yeah. Aggravated damage is just get clipped on the arm. We have people stab, and if they were to 1 or 2 stages, stage 3 doesn't consider that. They about how they consider that. Correct. We've seen people get into that. It's still going to get hurt in the court system. Correct. But is it something that will be permanently on the record, or will it come up? That's what I want to make sure that anytime somebody gets a misdemeanor charge, it's thrown out of the record. A charge or a conviction? A conviction is different. That's two different things.
Wilson, can you explain the relevance to whatever you're finding?
So this is when it's like guilty. That's what the conviction is. That's correct. It's always put off the record. That's a long process for lawyers. We look at okay. We can only do this. Okay. They're charged, and then it'll be up to the judge either. Okay. They throw the job right here. Well, this will certainly help me with the order of protection too. Well, that's like that's not now. Yeah. Well, when you have to go with this, I'll let you guys want to wait up on the social media. Sorry. Because for the active, I wrote my signature. I need you to sign your name there, please. And you'll get a copy of that too. Okay, Christopher Printing.
Right?
So anyway, I was told that she was going to be charged with misdemeanor. The reason why I asked if it would be on a record is because she had made repeated attempts into my home. I was shocked. He told me that Ms. Burrell was going to help me with an order of protection. I don't know if he told her something different, but she spent the next few days on the phone trying to convince me, that, oh, you don't want her to go to jail. Let's do this in local village ordinance court. It really, and then that was like on the 13th or something. On the 15th, her husband cornered me and my seven-year-old mother in the isolated hallway and pointed his finger at us and said, if I ever catch you in the hallway again, you need to find another place to live. You're going to find out what a real threat I am, since you felt like you had to do that to such a small assailant. By the way, he was waiting in a rented idling van on my driveway. Okay, so that was pretty scary.
This is repetitious.
When I went to see, when I saw officers at Southblood the next day, his report acknowledges all that the man told me and my mother, that we couldn't live there anymore and that he was going to be a threat to us in the hallway. And Zapla, on the 15th, just mocked us in the report saying, she says Wheeling Police Department's working against her, but it's simply not true.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson.
So,
good night.
I appreciate Lang and Kruger's efforts on my behalf, and I would just really admonish you to think that all of this has happened because Spondylus
Ms. Wilson,
has allowed this to happen, so I urge you to continue.
Would you please sit down?
Evaluating him.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your comments. Staff reports. John Malenefi, you have a...
Thank you, President Horker. I'm delighted to announce tonight that we have a new business development coordinator in our economic development department, and her name is Mary Anthe Thanopoulos, and she'll be instrumental in promoting and encouraging development and redevelopment opportunities, conducting marketing and strategic communications, and supporting economic development goals and objectives set forth in the village's strategic plan. I'd like to introduce Mary Anthe, and if you'd like to come up and introduce yourself to the board and say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you to the village board. It's been a pleasure serving you for the last few days. I look forward to bringing this positive energy that this village brings. Whenever I actually came with my family through the village, I was very much impressed with the energy and the vitalization of the business incentives. So I am so excited to be here and to serve in this capacity under such wonderful leadership. So thank you, and I look forward to getting to know all of you and to working with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Janik, please.
Thank you. Just wanted to not warn you guys, but let you know that we're going to be testing the holiday lights starting tomorrow and probably for Wednesday. Just make sure that they're working and they're located correctly on the vegetation. So if you see the lights on, they might be on for a few hours. Don't get nervous. I'm not going to turn them on until 2 weeks from now. But we do need to test them and make sure that they're at least all working, and sometimes we have to take some lights off or put some lights on depending on how they've located the lights. So we'll have 1 or 2 people from our staff, and then they'll have people here to adjust stuff. So just so you know.
Thank you, Mr. Janik. Clerk Simpson, consent agenda.
Consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the village board and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member or citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered after all other agenda items. 11A, ordinance declaring a surplus and authorizing the disposition of property owned by the village of Wheeling. 11B, resolution authorizing acceptance of the Suburban Purchasing Cooperative Contract for the purchase of one 2018 Ford Utility Police Interceptor SUV in the amount of $29,571 from Curry Motors. Item 11C, resolution authorizing acceptance of the State of Illinois' previously bid contract with CDW Government LLC for the purchase of a Cisco network equipment in the amount of $79,901.
Any questions from anyone?
I'll make a motion to approve as read.
Second.
No question. That would be a motion, Trustee Vogel, second Trustee Pepantos. Roll call, please.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Pepantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. Thank you. There is no old business. We will go right to new business.
Item 13A, ordinance granting a variation from Title 19 zoning of the Wheeling Municipal Code relating to residential use of the first floor at 212-224 South Milwaukee Avenue, docket number 2017-12.
Mr. Jennings, please explain.
Thank you. The owner of the property located at 224 South Milwaukee Avenue developed that building with multiple units. It is a commercial structure. Through the course of marketing for the last several years, there are some vacancies in the building. The owner has requested a variation from the zoning code which will allow one of those units to be utilized as a residence. The Plan Commission held a public hearing on this item that is considered a variation from the code. The owner-operator apartment provision within the code allows such a use only on the upper floor, the second floor. This would include living space on the first floor. The Plan Commission reviewed the item at a public hearing, made a recommendation 4-3 in favor of this. During the course of the public hearing, the fire department had made a comment regarding the considerations for emergency response at a building that has a mixed-use configuration where there is a sort of unusual situation with a residence on the first floor in an otherwise commercial structure. The fire department and police department subsequently submitted a memo for your review reiterating this and expounding on the considerations that the emergency response personnel might have with this unique situation. So with that, the petitioner is here, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Questions from the board? Trustee Papantos?
Thank you. The spaces in the diagrams list out as 424 square feet. Doesn't our code require 675?
Would you please step to the microphone? Sorry. Who was that question directed to?
Well, either Mr. Jennings or Mr. Kristowski.
There is a minimum, the section that you're referring to is actually from the R4 residential district where it details the minimum square footages. Yes, there is a minimum square footage of a residential unit, a studio unit in the R4 district. We did not include that in the list of variations in this case. In the B3, the primary issue that we saw was just the existence of any residence on the first floor of the building.
Where do we have anything like this on a first floor basis?
On the first floor, that I can recall, within a mixed-use building like this, there's nothing that we've had. We've had a few that I can recall that we have found, just off the top of my head. We did have one in an industrial building on Wolf Road that we located during the course of a regular inspection and did ask them to in that use. In that case, I don't know if any of the other staff has a recollection of other.
So we don't have any permitted or allowed on the first floor?
Not in this exact configuration where it's within a commercial structure like this.
Thank you. Chief McIsaac, could you explain your memorandum?
The issue that we have here is that this is a business use and can virtually be anything that would meet that use group in current zoning. By adding residential into it, we add a configuration where we now have residential people residing, sleeping, and maintaining a lifestyle immediately adjacent to an unknown business that can change from time to time. It also opens up a potential issue for us because we do have like strip shopping centers that would have similar zoning and similar configurations. And I guess what would happen if, in fact, a shopping center with 1,000 square foot space is an example that his sprinkler has 2 doors but suddenly can't rent it out, chooses to come before you and argue that they too should be able to convert this into a residential use. As also alluded in the memo, we have a situation here where we don't know if this is going to be occupied year-round. We don't know who it's going to be occupied because there's nothing that stops the owner from eventually subletting this property to another tenant. And as alluded by Director Jennings, we had situations like this in industrial in Sumac and a couple other locations on Wolf Road over the years where businesses have moved in and then tried to establish a component of residential, and we have enforced the code and asked them to move out. So this is kind of a retrograde process that we're creating here.
Thank you. Chief Dunn, did you have anything to add to that?
As noted in the memo, it was prepared by Chief McIsaac. We collaborated on the memo. My concern was that when you do a mixed use like that, officers, as they're going about their function, the patrol function, they would come across a vehicle or lights on or people in the building that you wouldn't be accustomed to, and that would trigger some sort of response, and it would put the resident/business owner in conflict with the officer in that situation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anything else, Ms. Papantos?
No.
Thank you. Trustee Lang?
Thank you. Mr. Kristowski, can you explain what your, I saw the Plan Commission meeting but just refresh us all of what your plans are and explain what your.
Well, it is a building that I own. As it's been noted, we haven't rented the whole building out. And, I'm there quite late. I have a tenant that stays late. And I don't think there's anything in the code that would actually permit a 24-hour business to even go on there. So, I mean, cars are there late, cars are there early. I snowplow the lot myself, and I do come there very early in the morning to do so. I don't think it's unusual to have traffic there at any potential time of the night. As you know as well, there have been some instances of vandalism and theft from the property, and so the additional thought is that having a presence or potential presence of somebody there could thwart that, or certainly potentially prevent some further or future issues such as that. And it does take some parking requirements off, given that it'll be a residence and it's owner-operator, so that vehicle will be there. It's not like a business where you could potentially fill up an office space with 4 or 5 employees. So it will relieve some of that. But again, I really do want to use it for personal use. I don't intend on renting it out anytime soon, although not to say that maybe in the future. But again, it is restricted to owner-operator. So you have to have a business there in order to use the apartment if we go that route.
Okay. Yeah, and I understand that, that you plan on using it yourself, but things change down the road, and that's what I'm concerned about is, if you lease it out to somebody, and what if that somebody has a semi-truck or a larger truck of some type? All of a sudden, parking is a premium there, and not, and you have issues with that already. Those are unknowns, and that's kind of where we're looking at it. At least I'm looking at it. It's all unknowns. There are concerns from police and fire as well.
But I would think that, as issues come up, we can address those, we can handle those. I think that there are laws in place now that prohibit certain things, and certainly, if there's a complaint, obviously it gets addressed and has to be taken care of. But I think those instruments are in place, in other words, already.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else, Trustee Lang?
No.
Trustee Kruger, Trustee Brady, you're next.
Thank you. Mr. Krastowski?
Yes.
It seems that one of your hardships is security, right?
Well, I mean, I think it is something that I think is kind of a natural result of having a presence there.
Well, my question is, do you have any other security measures in place in either of the 2 buildings you own? Cameras?
I do have a camera, yes.
Can you tell me, can you describe your current security system?
Well, I mean, at this point, we do have a camera on the outside, which does record vehicles that enter and leave the driveway. So we can pretty much have record of who comes and goes, yes.
And the nature of the, I guess, security breaches, what happened?
Well, we've had, we've really tried our best to secure on the outside of the building a snowplow that we use for plowing in winter. The first time was probably on me, but after about the 3rd time, when we've had it behind a parked trailer, chained together, and somebody literally came and lifted the snowplow, cut through the chains, and drove it off on the back of a pickup truck.
And that was stored in the back of your building?
Yeah, way in the back, yes.
Near where this apartment would be?
Pardon me?
Near where this apartment is being proposed?
Actually at the opposite end, but we're not doing that anymore. We can't build a structure to support or to secure that equipment. So it's in my house, in my personal garage at home, yes.
I too watched the Plan Commission meeting, and I was really listening hard for a hardship. With regard to security and this particular proposal and the location where this apartment is going to be on the plan, I find it difficult to really support. How is that person, if it's you even, how will you be able to secure both of those properties when it's in the back of the property, it's on the first floor, the only glass is just the front door and the side window facing west? What actually would you see by being there?
Well, we could certainly put up additional measures that can, alert us to intrusion and be notified of it.
But you could do that now without an apartment.
But I'd have to come quite a ways from Northbrook to attend to anything.
I guess, as the kids say, there's probably an app for that. But the other issue is that there's been some difficulty in renting the space to other businesses. I, like the chiefs, I think, alluded to, is a precedent that could be set, that another commercial property that has an unrented or tough-to-rent space could then say, well, I'm not doing well trying to rent this as a business unit, so I'm just going to make an apartment out of it so I can put a tenant in there.
I understand, but I believe that the zoning code already allows an apartment in a business district.
Typically in a single use.
And then there's also in the International Building Code, there's something called a live-work space. So this isn't, I don't think, unusual in any way. And as you know, across the street, I have there's a home in the business district, a full-blown home with obviously living quarters on the first floor. There's another business just, I think, northeast of me, which has a beautiful living space in the business district. So I don't think this is something that's unusual. Again, it's in the zoning code, it's in the International Building Code, and it exists across the street in the same business district which I have my building. So I didn't think I was going for anything unusual. And then, of course, the residences that are all around the building in the back, a very residential setting. And, of course, I don't think our building is industrial in any way. It's, I think, a beautiful building. I think it doesn't impede or intrude on the residential style that surrounds us. I think we're good neighbors, and honestly, I don't see anything that's terribly, wrong with going after this or trying for the variance.
Thanks for your testimony. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I'm finished.
Thank you, Trustee Kruger. Trustee Brady?
Thank you. There are businesses that probably warrant residents living there for various reasons. Funeral home has been historically one where funeral directors like being close to their work. You have things that go on during the day. You have to be there to receive remains and all the other nasty things and dirty things that go along with that job. And there's rental places that rent, garages for people. They have to have somebody living there. But this is a commercial site. If we start allowing mixing residential and commercial within the same building now, how do we stop it later? And the one point that was brought up, how do we monitor this? Who's living there and what's going on? I'm afraid we'd be starting the wrong precedent on granting this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Brady. Any other comments? Trustee Vito first, then Trustee Papantos.
So is it your intention that you personally are going to live in there?
Yes.
Where are you living now?
In Northbrook.
Okay. It's kind of a small space, right?
It's small, but it's, I really think that there's a lot of advantages to a small space. I don't need a large home for myself. So it's sort of a transitional thing. Eventually we will be, selling the house in Northbrook. I do plan on continuing to run the business and operate the buildings and become a resident of Wheeling. I spend probably more time here than I do in my home, and that's okay. I have a business interest. I have tenants that I like to take care of, and of course, owning those two buildings, as you could imagine, is a pretty, it's not always a part-time job to manage and take care of it the way that we like to.
Thank you, Trustee Vito. Trustee Papantos?
Thank you. I just want to clarify two things. While our code does allow residents, our code is specific at second floor. Am I correct, Mr. Jennings?
Yes, the particular section that Mr. Krasowski is varying, the beginning of it is that it is an owner-operator unit, and it is, in that particular section, it is restricted to the second floor. The proprietor's apartment is the second floor above the main business.
Thank you. And Mr. Krasowski, I too watched the Plan Commission, and you stated that you had planned to move out of state and use this as a, for lack of a better term, and I'm going to paraphrase, more as a hotel when you came back here to stay at the residence, not live here full time. And you mentioned we when you were answering Trustee Vito's question. That is awfully small for more than one person.
Yeah, it's not very large. I don't expect any family would be moving in there. It is sort of a single use. It would be fine, for my purposes, kind of an extended stay hotel room, if you will. But we've already drawn up plans, and it lays out very nice to have a small kitchen and essentially a living area.
But as I stated, it is much below our code for even an efficiency apartment.
It is below the code for the efficiency type of apartment, yes.
Right. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Trustee Vito?
Yeah, just one for Andrew. So is this limited to owner occupier, so he can't lease it out to?
It is.
All right. So he's the only person that could be in there.
The question, I think, on our end is just awareness and enforcement. We do have a rental licensing program. In this particular section, he's not requesting a variation that would extend to somebody beyond the owner or operator. So the way we had viewed it is by not requesting that variation, he would not have the ability to extend and seek a rental license to rent it out.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you, Trustee Vito. Any other questions? I look for a motion to approve.
So moved.
1A. Motion, Trustee Vito.
Second.
Second, Trustee Lang. I'm sorry, that was item 13A.
Trustee Lang was the second?
Yes.
Correct. Roll call, Clerk Simpson.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
No.
Trustee Krueger?
No.
Trustee Papantos?
No.
No. Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
President Horker?
No.
Okay. Oh, Trustee Lang, what did you vote? How did you vote? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, thank you.
It's 3 to 4.
1, 2, 3, 4, 3 to 4. Yes, correct. Okay.
Sorry, sir. Thank you. Item 13B, Clerk Simpson.
Ordinance extending ordinance number 5115, which vacated a certain portion of Mayor Avenue.
Mr. Jennings.
Thank you. The ordinance number 5115, which was recently approved, is related to the Wolf Crossing development. The subdivision includes the vacation of a portion of Mayor Avenue. There are preconditions for conveyance of the land that would be subject to the vacation. Those preconditions include that the owner of the adjacent property the contract purchaser of the adjacent property, which is the developer of the Wolf Crossing development, first acquire the Deerfield moving and storage property. The acquisition does involve also the review of the subdivision. Through the course of the review with IDOT had some concern. There's been some communication back and forth with IDOT. They are resolving IDOT's questions. However, they will not be able to complete all the preconditions for conveyance of the land within the allotted time period of Ordinance 5115. Staff has no concerns with this request, and it would, if approved, allow them adequate time to resolve the issues with IDOT, close on the adjacent property, and then convey for us, the village, to convey the land to them.
Thank you. Questions from the board? Trustee Papantos?
Thank you. Is the petitioner here, or?
They are here, yes.
I'm just curious what this is going to do to your timeline on your project. Sorry.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be in front of you again. In terms of timeline, we're obviously concerned about the weather. It's getting cold. There's some demo work, as you know, that needs to be done with that property. That building needs to come down. So this may delay the acquisition by 30 days or so. But we're planning to get underway right after the beginning of the year with the project. So does it delay us? Yes. Would I like to be under construction right now? Certainly. But it's still going to happen. It's just a matter of a slight delay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Trustee Papantos. Any other questions?
So moved.
Motion by Trustee Lang. Be looking for a second. Was that Mr. Vogel? Thank you, Trustee Vogel. Roll call, Clerk Simpson.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. Thank you, sir. Clerk Simpson.
13C, resolution approving a marketing contract for the sale of 99 North Wolf Road, Wheeling, Illinois.
Mr. Malenefi.
Thank you, President Horker. The village board concluded that the village-owned former food pantry building at 99 to 101 North Wolf Road is no longer needed for village use, and the village board evaluated a number of potential village uses and determined that we should sell the property. Economic development staff identified a broker, Rob Campbell, with Liberty Real Estate Group, with the qualifications and experience to assist the village in the sale or disposition of the property. A listing agreement has been prepared by village attorney Jim Frollo for village board consideration this evening. I've invited Rob Campbell, a principal with Liberty Real Estate Group, to be here tonight to answer any questions. We had the property appraised, and we have proposed a listing price for the property. We'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Trustee Krueger. Trustee Lang, you're next.
Yes, Director Malenefi, thank you. Have we ever worked with Liberty Real Estate Group before?
Not the village of Wheeling. I became acquainted with Rob Campbell in Arlington Heights with Liberty Real Estate Group, and they're very active in the village's downtown area in selling small properties in the downtown area. We did discuss this listing with several other brokerage firms as well, and I felt that Rob had the qualifications experience to assist us with this.
Great, and there is no financial outlay by the village. This is all purely based on commission.
That's correct.
Will you stay in close contact with the broker to maintain the marketing efforts on the property?
Absolutely. We've already toured the building, and we've talked about various end users that might be likely purchasers of the property.
Outstanding. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Krueger. Trustee Lang?
Thank you. That is a string, this is more of a comment than a question, but that is a string of shopping centers involved in all that area. I don't think I've ever seen it as cleaned up and nice as it has been recently over the for many years. So that should help quite a bit in marketing and selling that piece of property. Hopefully the new buyer has the same aspirations of cleaning up, and that building needs some work, I'm sure, and the rest of the center would and shopping centers in there would then look nice as well. Hopefully we find that buyer.
Yes, and there's been a lot of anticipation of the Wheeling Town Center and a lot of interest. The retail vacancy rates in the last few years have been declining, so landlords had a pretty good environment to lease the space. Landlords in that vicinity have made some improvements. We did some facade improvement grants on the Napa Auto Parts facility, so we're pretty optimistic that we'll be able to find a buyer for that property. We've actually already been marketing it from the village's side, and so I'm excited to get Rob on board with the Liberty Real Estate Group and get it into the MLS service and so forth so that we can let potential buyers know about it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any further questions from the board?
So moved.
Second.
That would be a motion from trustee Lang, second from trustee Kruger. Roll call, Clerk Simpson.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. Official communications. Clerk Simpson, what do you have for us?
It's that time of year again, and we're going to usher in the holiday season with lighting of the lights around Wheeling. The festivities, I can't say that word.
Festivities.
Festivities begin at 4:30 on Sunday, November 19th at Friendship Park, which is on the corner of Dundee and Milwaukee, and it's the northeast corner.
Thank you, Clerk Simpson. Mr. Svandulis.
Thank you. I just wanted to make the board aware that over the weekend we had a water main break on Carpenter. We have crews, contractors on site doing work in the area already. It made the most sense to allow them to fix the repair. Certainly, Mr. Janik can elaborate, but I wanted to let you know that we signed the contract so that the work can be done. The street was already open. It made sense to have the contractor who was already there. The amount, which would end up being a change order to the project, is $27,000. At the next board meeting, I will have an item for you to ratify that contract, but I did want to let you know it was an emergency repair on Saturday, total value of $27,000, and it made the most sense to just have the contractor on site make the repairs while the street was open.
Thank you, Mr. Svandulis. Comments? Trustee Papantos.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to express my thoughts and prayers to the victims in Texas and what happened over the weekend yesterday in particular. And to feed into that, we do have our village blood drive this Wednesday from 2 to 7 p.m. If you can take the time, if you are eligible to donate, please go online to lifesource.org. WH98 is the group. You can make an appointment, come in and donate. It's a good thing. Blood is needed before the emergency happens. It needs to be collected, processed, tested, and labeled and shipped out. Donating the day of an accident does not help anybody. So please, if you can donate, if you're eligible, give it a thought. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Papantos. Trustee Vito, Trustee Brady, you're next.
Yes, a lot of things that come out of Springfield disappoint me, but rarely do I get incensed. Senate Bill 1905, I don't know if anyone was paying attention to it. We didn't hear anything, at least I didn't hear anything from the Northwest Municipal Conference on it. What it did was, not only did it prohibit this board and other legislative local bodies from enacting right-to-work zones, it also made it criminal if we thought to do it. Criminal. So, to give you a little history of it, in Lincolnshire, just to our north, Liz Brandt and their board enacted a right-to-work zone, meaning that if there's a union shop in town and people wanted to work there, they weren't compelled to join the union or compelled to pay dues. The legislature, in response to that, not only wanted to make that conduct illegal, I guess unauthorized, they also wanted to make it criminal in nature. This isn't very controversial. Every state around Illinois is a right-to-work state. And you've seen Rounders commercials. They're right. We're losing a lot of jobs to these states in part because they're right-to-work states. Maybe not in entirety.
I understand that there's a difference of opinion, and I get the union's argument, and it's fair. It's a free rider argument. What they say is if you can come into a bargaining unit and you can work in there and you don't have to pay dues, well, you're getting the benefit of the union without having to pay for it. I understand that. There's also the contrary argument that, you know what, you have a right not to be compelled to pay union dues or join a union or associate with anyone you don't want to and still work. That is a very legitimate debate to have. It is arguments that can be made on both sides. To criminalize the conduct of people who believe that a worker should have the right to be refrained from compelling to join a union is disgusting. And it's not a light penalty. It calls for, the ordinance or the Senate bill calls for anyone who violates this, an elected official or the like, who knowingly or willfully fails to comply with this act is guilty of a Class A misdemeanor. A Class A misdemeanor is not a slap on the wrist. It can carry a 364-day jail term. It is the equivalent of if I left this building here and went to Spears and did 17 shots of whiskey and drove down Milwaukee Avenue and smashed into Benihana, I would be guilty of a Class A misdemeanor as long as no one got hurt. What the legislature has said is my malice aforethought in driving drunk out of my mind is the same as if I sat here logically and thought, hey, you know what? Maybe a person shouldn't have to join a union, and maybe a person shouldn't have to pay dues if they want to work in a certain factory or plant. I'm just outraged. That's what they do in banana republics. It's not just a debate. It's criminalizing contrary thought, criminalizing contrary action, and that's not what we do in this country. I think everyone should be ashamed who voted for it. All of our legislators who represent Wheeling voted for it. They should be ashamed of themselves. They should be ashamed that they voted to override the veto, and we should all be thankful that that lost by one vote. However, it's not over because they're going to try to bring it up again. And with that, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Vito. Will you monitor that for us?
I will.
Sincerely, thank you.
No, I will.
Trustee Brady.
Thank you. Although we did have a relatively calm citizens' concerns session tonight, lately there have been a lot of accusations brought up about the honesty and integrity of me and my fellow board members and our staff. For months we have quietly sat here and listened to charges of malfeasance, misdemeanoring, and felonies against us. You know, it comes down to we have a citizen who, for whatever the reason, has a vendetta to destroy the good name of our elected officials and staff members and the village of Wheeling, which we work so hard to protect and push forward. This person has launched false accusations with no proof on issues she believes are criminal, yet in reality are not against any law, civil or moral. So far, all she's done is cause chaos amongst all of us at a time our efforts should be on our future development projects and the future of this community. We live by the laws, each and every one of us. We agree and wholeheartedly endorse the right of speech, the freedom of speech, a part of our Constitution. This is why we have citizens' concerns as part of our agenda. We also believe in transparency. That's why we were one of the first communities to televise our meetings. We're not trying to hide anything. It's all there for everyone to see. You know, the one thing that same law does, though, is it protects us, the elected officials and our staff, from defamation of character charges, which sometimes are on the verge of being violated by these false accusations. Ladies and gentlemen, and those of you in the audience that are listening, we're up here for what? You think we're in collusions? You think we're getting rich sitting up here? You think we get a lot of money for what we do? We don't. I spent almost 18 years on the Plan Commission for $0. And a lot more time went into that job, sometimes than is on this job. This job here, the responsibilities are heavy. We know that. We know our actions sometimes affect people. We use our common sense. We listen to our staff and do our research and try to make the right decision. There's nothing underhanded about any of it. It's all black and white. It's there for everyone to see. And for somebody to question it or challenge it, you know, I can always put up with somebody that doesn't like what I say or somebody that disagrees with my views on something. And you know, after it's over, the voting is done, everything else, we go out, I'll be the first one to buy them a beer, you know, and shake their hand. But this underhanded things that are going on with these people coming in here with these accusations and name calling, I'm getting tired of it. And I wish it would stop. And I don't know what we can do, but I tell you what, all I'm concerned right now is that you, the people that elected us and put us here to represent you and our community, I want you to believe from the bottom of my heart that there's no such thing going on as she is, as so rant and ravingly accused us of. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Brady. Any other comments? There being no other comments, I would look for a motion to approve the bills from October 12th till November 1st.
So moved.
Motion, Trustee Vogel, second.
Second.
Trustee Papantos. Roll call, Clerk Simpson.
Trustee Lane?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
President Walker?
Yes, thank you, Trustee Brady. There is no executive session tonight, so that being the case, I would be looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Oh, wait. Okay. Krueger?
That was a motion, Trustee Krueger. Second from
Lang.
Trustee
Second.
Brady.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone, for sharing your evening with us. Meeting is adjourned.
Andrew.